Hey everybody, welcome to my channel, YouTubers, VCers, and especially Beatle people, because this is another Beatles segment. It was 30 years ago this year, this November, that Pete Best finally got paid. Pete Best, the original drummer of the Fab Four, before Brian and the boys decided we need a replacement. He's not handling it. You all know the history. I'm not going to go into that, but I was able to meet Pete Best, so glad he's got paid 30 years ago. He got some cash, because we're talking about the Anthology series that came out 30 years ago in November, I believe it was, and long time ago. But rumor has it there's going to be a reissue of these records, and I'm going to show these records now. This is a volume cover by Klaus Vorman, and if you put these covers together, they make a mural. Really beautiful, goes into the history, and I'll show these in detail. If you last, I should say, to the end of this video, on the end screen, I will post a video that I did, I believe about 9 months ago, talking about this same issue, that the same matter, that this record is about 30 years old, and are we going to get a reissue? We're going to get a box set. And I talk about what was left off. I talk about the history. I talk about what sold, when it sold, and I'm going to go over some, quick details here. This video is just to echo what I've been hearing on YouTube and on the VC channel, that these will be reissued, but they're also going to be reissued in addition to this, which is the anthology book that came out a few years after the VHS, DVDs, CDs, and records came out of the anthology. So this is a great book, heavy book. You could tell this has to be 10 pounds. It's just detail, and it's the Beatles in their own words, basically. But great stuff. And this is the Beatles story told for the first time in their own words and pictures. So this is supposed to be reissued, reimagined, hopefully with a foreword by Paul and John, maybe by the wives of John and George, or the son of John and the wife of George, or the son of George and the wife of John. But hopefully we'll get a little bit more insight, because 30 years ago, no one, I think, could expect the explosion of box sets and the explosion of new technology that's able to enhance, some treasured recordings. And maybe on this reissue, this box set, I talked about it before, maybe there'll be some Decca demo tapes in that, or expanded or improved. Maybe we'll get an improved few tracks from the Star Club. Maybe Peter Jackson will be involved. I'm sure Giles Martin is involved already. I think there's already some things in the pipeline that were forthcoming that will be included in this. So let me just go to my notes really fast with some quick fun facts. But rumor has it that the anthology, the triple set of 3, will be reissued as a box set. The book is going to be reissued as a box set. Yeah, I remember when this the anthology series was first released on TV. It was on November 19th, November 22nd, November 23rd, November 1995. 6 hours long on ABC with a few Beatles songs, and we were all excited. I couldn't wait to get the VHS 8-pack or 6-pack, which I still have somewhere. I subsequently bought the CDs, and then I found these. These are not cheap. These are expensive, but they're still available. But with the advent of the new technology and what they could do as far as enhancing some of these early recordings, it's just going to be great. Free as a Bird, I believe, is already in the pipeline, and those early new tracks that were on Anthology in 1995. So I remember going to the store, picking up the CDs. I also have the EP singles, which some of these I talked about in my past video on anthologies, and you can look at that again If you last, or if you want to, you can find it, and I'm going to list it at the back end of this video on a end card. So Pete Best got paid 30 years ago today, or this November, almost coming up. This album went multi-platinum. It sold millions of records in the first week. They were all #1. You know, we're talking about a Rubber Soul box set, but I think this has picked up some steam, more so than Rubber Soul. But I'm hoping for a Rubber Soul maybe before this. I could wait for this. You know, I have everything here, but the rumor mill has it that this is a box set in the works. Also an updated book. So it's going to be a pretty good year for Beatle people. And save your money. Is it a money grab? I don't think so. These records should be reissued. They're just great. I listen to them every few years since 30 years ago, I guess. The sound quality is great. They're little snippets of outtakes and just great stuff. And I'll go over some of the tracks fast. But like I said, originally we had the VHS. After the television show, probably sold millions of that as well. 50th anniversary of Rubber Soul. What will come up first? Who knows? Just a little insight into these records. Very excited to even hold these records. There's beautiful laminated covers. They're trifolds. Detailed to the max. You have detailed on every track. You have photos. I'll show the back or the front. Front cover, Claus Vorman, and these three covers form a mural. I'll pull out a record so you get a chance to see the label. A beautiful Apple label. These are all EU. Made in the UK. But just a tremendous sounding album. And you're talking 30 years ago. Imagine what it would sound like on the new vinyl, the new quiet vinyl, as they say. This is volume 1. This is, I believe, volume 2. This is Anthology 1. Or this is volume 2. It's Anthology 2, and we have the famous session from Sgt. Pepper. Beautiful trifold, again, with the colors from Sgt. Pepper's. And photos galore. No inners. The photos are actually built into the sleeves, which I like. Just great photos. Just excellent recording. Derek Taylor wrote the liner notes in this one. Here is 3. And we have the last photo session picture there from the Hey Jude record, which is part of the cover of Hey Jude. But just an amazing, this was so exciting because we didn't have anything of this caliber, you know, 1995-ish. Now we're getting box sets, we're getting out, you know, the technology's there. But back in 1995, this was tremendous. Everyone I know at least got the CDs. Vinyl was waning. I was able to get the vinyl, being a Beatle people. And if you hold these together, like I said, here's just 1 and 2 there. You could see they formed a mural. And these posters were plastered all over the world, especially the Western Hemisphere. UK, East Coast, West Coast, Oklahoma, Kansas City, London, Japan. These records sold in the millions. I think it's 8 times platinum. I believe it was the fastest million record up to that point album, and definitely one of the fastest million copy Beatle record. So just think, today when a record sells 5,000 copies in one day, like the Black Sabbath on Rhino, we're all amazed. But back in the heyday, or anything Beatle that was released, just exploded. One of the poorest selling compilations I talked about was the Beatles' Real Music, which depicted photos of them in different stages of their film career, and the album had, I believe, 14 tracks or 14 tracks or 15 tracks of Beatles music from their films: Help, Yellow Submarine, Magical Mystery Tour, Let It Be, and Hard Day's Night. But this is exciting. This is exciting. And of course, Pete Best got paid. There's his autograph. Met Pete Best at a convention. Wasn't complaining about anything, or why should he? It was something that happened. But Pete Best autograph, really happy to have that on this Beatles featuring Tony Sheridan, which on Contour Records from the UK, I believe. This record just sounds great. You could probably pick this up for a song. There's the label. Try to match this label up, and you will not be disappointed as far as star quality. The Lennon vocals on here are just incredible. One of the best recordings. So we're going to get the booklet. We're going to get these anthologies in a box set, or that's what the rumor is. So maybe we'll get a remastered Now and Then. Maybe we'll get a remastered Free as a Bird and the other Beatles songs that came out with this record. Perhaps we'll get some outtakes, or not outtakes, but demo tapes from the demo, the Decca demos, which that tape just surfaced in a record shop in Canada, which exploded the internet a few weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago. So here we have it. The book is having its 25th anniversary. The book came out, I believe, around 2000. And this is a really fabulous book. If I could hold it up here.